Hello friends. Today we're going to discuss about effective communication skills, a very important life skill. I'm Dr. Suresh Padadmat, Professor of Psychiatry, working at NIMANS, Bangalore. Before I start my presentation, I would like to place this disclaimer. This presentation is for academic and training purpose only, not for clinical or legal opinion. For clinical opinion, please do contact a psychiatrist. Conflict of interest? None. In this video, I'm going to discuss about what is communication, what are the different barriers of communication, and also how to improve communication skills. This video is targeted to school and college administration, teachers, policymakers, parents, children, NGOs, corporates, and community at large. Let's discuss about communication skills. That is a very important life skill. Before we do that, let's define communication. Communication means ability to convey or share ideas and feelings effectively. That is communication. But however, we are discussing about effective communication. Effective communication means that we are able to express ourselves both verbally and non-verbally in a ways appropriate to our culture and situations. So that's a comprehensive definition. Before we move further, we need to know what are the different types of communication. First is non-verbal. If you are able to understand the non-verbal communication, we will be able to know the intention of the person. So, non-verbal communication is, if you are able to decode, we will know the intention or the motivation of the person. Second is verbal communication. Third, written communication like email, letter, chats. Visual is video-based communication or a picture. Now let's understand the mode at what time the communication is done. Whether is it synchronous real time or else asynchronous stored and forward type. In synchronous real time, if it is equivalent to the way you'll be directly talking in person, that is basically synchronous communication. Further, virtual video chat or even chatting on social media in a real time. They are all called as synchronous. That happens at the same time synchronously. Asynchronous is basically the information is stored and then forwarded, such as email, message, pictures, video, and audio messages. Here, the person sends the message or information that is stored, and later the recipient watches it. That is the reason it is called as asynchronous. Depending upon the synchronous and asynchronous, the information provided may have a different meaning. Now, depending upon the number of recipients, the communications. For example, if the communication is between 1 to 1, that is a direct communication between two people, or else 1 to few, small group, maybe 5 to 10 people. And the final one is 1 to large audience, maybe 50 to 100 people. So here, depending upon the number of recipients and depending upon the transmitters, number of people, so these can be divided. Let's understand what are the importance of communication. First and the foremost is relationships. If you have a good communication, you will have excellent relationship with your friends, family, and colleagues. The excellent communication skills also builds trust among people. Further, if you are able to clearly communicate the goals and objectives of your company, that gives the direction towards the employee. That means clarity in the direction. Further, good communication skills will improve conflict resolution and also problem solving. You'll be able to achieve desired goal if you are able to communicate with your employees, and thus increasing the productivity of the company. Not only that, the quality of life and stress management can be having an impact by excellent communication skills. Further, one need to know communication is an important skill you require for a successful life, but this can be learned by through training. Let's understand what are the different barriers for communication. First and the foremost is physical barrier. If The person is speaking to another and there is a glass between them. The other person will not be able to hear. Second one is language. If a person speaks to another person in a foreign language, the recipient may not be able to understand at all. That is language barrier. Attitudinal barriers. A rich person does not want to listen to a poor person or else his watchman of his house. So here is an attitudinal barrier. He does not want to listen to him because for this rich person, the time is money. So he does not want to spend any time discussing with his watchman. Physiological barriers. Physiological barriers is basically as the age increases, the person may have hard of hearing, or else he may not be able to speak properly, or else if the person is exhausted, or if the person is hungry. In such a scenario, these physiological barriers comes in the way of communication. Psychological and emotional barriers. Here, if a person is extremely anxious, maybe getting ready for the interview, job interview, or else if the person is giving a public lecture in front of 1,000 audience. Again, these emotions may come in the way of communication. Further, hierarchical or organizational barriers. Here, the lower rank order employee may not be able to speak to the mid level. He needs to go through this hierarchy or organization. That means he needs to report to his immediate senior. That immediate senior will talk to his immediate superior. That means there is a huge barrier between the lower order employee to the higher level employee. That means the message may get changed by the time it reaches to the top level. Further, cultural barriers. Here again, depending upon the culture, the way we speak, the way the person perceives also plays a role. Now, let's understand what are the basic of good communication. What do we call it as? This is a good communication skill. The good communication skill has a good eye contact. That means the person who transmits the message and the person who receives, they have a good eye contact. Active listening, that is basically providing time, making eye contact, nodding, paraphrasing. So here you are giving your time complete to the person who is transmitting the message. Further, the tone, tempo, and volume of the speech also plays a role. If you are able to have a calm, cool tempo, that will be soothing. The other person will be able to speak to the person. Empathy, that means the way you understand the feelings and the thinking of the other person. That means basically putting yourself in the other person's shoes. Having an open mind towards the discussion. That means when a person is speaking, you should not have any prejudice. If you are able to have open mind, you'll be able to understand. Giving time is very essential. In this busy world, if you want to understand, if you want to communicate, you need to give time. And also, we need to focus on non-verbal skills. The way the person sits, the dress, the way he speaks, how he has made comfortable to the recipient, all those plays a very important role in non-verbal skills. And enthusiasm. If you are able to have a high enthusiastic, that means you will be able to communicate a lot of information. Non-verbal cues, picking up the cues, whether the person who is listening is interested, is not interested, the way he is holding his hands, whether he is busy on his mobile phone. So such non-verbal cues also plays an important role in communication. Further, dealing with emotion is very essential, especially if the person who is providing information or transmitting information, he himself is in a highly distressed situation or anger, he will be shouting at the top of his voice. If he is depressed, he may not communicate at all. Also, one need to think in the communication skill, the other person who is providing information, if he's shouting, that means there may not be any communication at all. One need to be comfortable dealing with silence. When two people are discussing and suddenly one person breaks down, then you need to allow the other person to ventilate, to cry, and there should be a silence so that you need to be comfortable with that. And during communication, if you are an active listener, you need to paraphrase, you need to reflect what they have told, you need to summarize, and you need to clarify what they are discussing. That means the person who is providing information feels that he is understood, he is able to give time, he is able to understand my emotions. And one need to have an open channel to reach out. There was a discussion today, but suddenly there is a change in scenario. The other person wants to reach out. Hence, there should be open channel for discussion. Now let's discuss about preventing miscommunication. Invariably, whenever there is a communication, miscommunication do occur. As you see in the diagram, there is a sender. That means the origin of information. That information has to go to the receiver. That is destination. And the information is carried through a medium. And when the medium is there and there is a noise, high level, that means there will be miscommunication or misinformation will be transmitted to the receiver. Either there may be anything wrong going in any of this variable. If the sender is wrong and the information goes to some other person, then also it is problem. If the information provided is broken, then also it is a problem. If there is a noise in the medium, then again the information may not reach the receiver. That is, it may not reach the destination. So, what are the different ways of preventing communication, miscommunication? First and the foremost is you need to avoid wrong source, wrong destination, and wrong media. The information need to be clear and concise. And when the communication is given, if possible, use multiple mode of communication. Never ever assume that the communication is complete. You need to check, evaluate, and further move. That is very essential. Know the limit of information providing and receiving. Do not provide a huge amount of information if the recipient is not in a position to comprehend the whole information. Hence, once the information is transmitted, we need to check and follow up on the information. Now, let's discuss about very important communication, that is public speaking. Here, the person who is transmitting will be transmitting the information to a large group of recipients. That is called as public speaking. When you do public speaking, first and the foremost, one need to shed is the shyness or else stage fear. If you are able to do that, then the second important thing is know your topic and whom you are going to address this topic. You need to do research regarding the topic, do rehearsal, practice, and you need to time your public speaking. If possible, try to get the audio or video aid so that you can communicate the information effectively. And on the day of communicating the information, that is during the day of presentation, you need to have a good, pleasant dress. The way is your body posture and body language also plays a role. You need to engage the audience and you need to raise the emotion so that they do remember the information given and also reach the place in advance. If you are giving a public speaking or a public lecture, if it is at 10 a.m., you need to reach at least at 8:30. Go there, see the place, what are the arrangements, what are the audio video visual aids are available, whether the PowerPoint pointer is working, where is the laptop, who will change the slides, what are the audio mechanisms are there, whether they have hands-free mic. Such needs to be discussed. Not only you need to upload your presentation and also run the slides and see whether it is running smoothly or not. So these need to be done before you do public speaking. If you are able to understand in the public speaking, the important rate limiting factor is anxiety. If you are able to overcome the anxiety, that means you'll be able to do a good public lecturer or else you can become a good orator. Now let's understand how to teach communication skills to children. Because communication skill is an important skill to be successful in life. First and the foremost, you need to understand communication starts from home. That means you need to start early. The parents are the role model because the child will learn what the parents speak or else what the child hears from the parents, teachers, and the neighborhood. That means the people around the child will act as a role model and they need to polish their language and also polish the interaction between two people. Further, you can teach communication skills when children play games, maybe football, cricket. When they do it, you need to discuss what was the strategy, who planned it, how did they discuss, how did they execute a plan to win the match. Further, communication skills also can be taught in a group debate or group activities. In such a scenario, a child is forced to interact with his colleagues or else with his friends. And when they do this interaction, that means there is communication exchange do occur. In this process, the child learns. Further, drama, skit, group cultural activities gives amazing opportunity to children to communicate. Further, homework assignments such as child is requested to interact with a stranger or else interact with a friend from a different class. That means if the child is studying in Mary Immaculate School, the child may be requested to interact with Sacred Heart High School. That means the child is given a task to interact with an unknown person. Further, the child also should be given an opportunity to do shopping, and when the shopping is done, the child need to converse with the shop owner regarding bargaining, negotiation skills, and also important is the child should be involved in the real life scenario. If you are able to teach communication skills in the real life scenario, the generalization of the skill do occur. Hence, the child also should be given an opportunity to moderate a group so that how well the child is able to see that the two parties discuss constructively. Here again, the discussion also plays a role. Further, one need to understand about presentation skills, refine the presentation skill, and also you'll be able to deliver the information what is required to the community. And also one need to understand about the communication skill is not only providing information, at the same time asking for help, finding information from other people, having real friends, not a virtual friend. That means the child need to go out every day in the evening to meet the friends in real world. And also, children also should be given an opportunity to do certain games, maybe greeting games. Here, the child is requested to say, "Hi, hello, my name is Mr. X. Nice to meet you. I've come here for, for food." That means here you are teaching certain important information and that is repeated so that the child learns it. Further, the child also can be given the task of role play. It may be interviewing, testing, discussion. So, such kind of activities are very essential for teaching communication. But we need to understand in the era of digital communication, the child and the adolescent should be taught about writing skills, that is basically typing skills, reading skills, interactive skills on social media presence, interacting over digital media, what are the pitfalls, what are the opportunities, etiquettes in communication, especially in the virtual world. Further, the children also need to be taught about cyberbullying and trolling and how to seek help. So, as in the pandemic, we have come to know the digital world is expanding in a phenomenal way. The real world, that is, means the real world where the real people are there, it is shrinking. In the era of digital world, we need to teach children how to interact even in the virtual world. To conclude, my dear friends, the art of communication is the language of leadership. That means every leader should know how to speak, how to communicate. And one need to understand there is millions of miles distance between thoughts and sentences. You have a thought to do good, but if you are unable to communicate in a right sentence, that means there will be a huge communication gap. In a simple word, there is a huge gap between brain to mouth. That means it's a millions of miles. This barrier should be overcome if you are able to learn the language and express the language to the precise. Communication skills training starts from home. Parents are the teacher and they need to be the good role model. Thank you very much for giving your valuable time. Stay safe.